So, in the last session we were looking at how to construct this EFAS matrix for an organization. We took the example of Maytag, and it was demonstrated how a consulting strategic consulting company created this matrix for Maytag. Kindly note that it is a real matrix, the values are real for a company operating in the United States. The important point that is being brought out is the construction of this matrix, how to construct this type of a matrix. Now, the question that comes is, why are we interested in this type of matrix? We were not doing it earlier. Kindly note that this type of matrix analysis itself is new. So, I am not 100% sure whether all the Indian organizations are doing this, which are operating in the competitive market. If especially if our public sectors, if they are not still doing it, it is high time they started doing it. Okay. So, if they do not do it, you may find that most of them will become a thing of the past very soon. That is, it ran that type of scenario. So, the company ran for this many years, that is all. It has happened to a company like HMT. The state of affairs of ITI is also not very good. It is in fact distressing how the first Indian public sector unit is in such a bad state. Okay. So, though they are saying over the last few years it has improved or showing up. So, not to mention of so many public sectors which have already closed shop. Okay. So, this is what is happening in a hyper competitive environment. If you are not able to adapt to this change, you may become an also ran player very soon. Happened to so many public sectors, happening also, will continue to happen. Okay. Now, with this background, if you look at what is happening in the global scenario, likely to happen also in the 21st century, you are seeing increasing environmental uncertainty. Kindly note this. Environment is not going to be certain. So, I was giving you the example of the Visakhapatnam dockyard in the earlier classes. What was the type of order which was given? The order was given for manufacturing a ship to this Visakhapatnam dockyard. The time period for manufacturing this ship would be about 3 to 4 years, and this dockyard will not bother about what is happening outside. Its job was to manufacture the ship and deliver it to the customer. So, it was a made to order type of situation. So, this is what I said is it characterized long range planning. So, you assumed a static environment, and when you assumed a static environment, no need to do any external factors analysis. Okay. So, you have got an order, fulfill that order, but not now. The question of not looking at the external environment is highly risky in the present day setup. Then itself an organization like the Kudremukh iron ore suffered due to this, okay, because the country which was to ship the ore itself, it went through terrific structural changes. So, this is what is called the environmental uncertainty. So, what happens in this type of a scenario? Environmental scanning will become important. So, you have to do an environmental scan. To remain competitive, companies will have to develop better methods of gathering, evaluating and disseminating intelligence to those who need it. So, this market intelligence becomes extremely important. So, this is what is giving rise to in the present day setup market intelligence system. So, you are calling it by different terminologies in the present day context. You are saying marketing analytics, marketing systems and analytics, all these types of things going by so many taglines. To manage strategically, organizations have to become more attuned to the many stakeholders who are affected by the company's actions. Shareholders will form only one part of the equation. Kindly note that. You may be having a share of a company like say HDFC Bank, you may own a few shares of that, but that does not mean that you are a part of the decision making team with respect to the bank, that is strategic decision making. So, you are only a very small part. Okay. So, sometimes a minuscule shareholders will form only one part of that equation, all the shareholders put together. So, the stakeholders become very important. Suppose they are operating in different fields like the insurance companies or the real estate financing or the home loans. They become new stakeholders in the whole setup, this type of different sectors. Okay. So, they will be making a impact on the strategic decision making of this type of banks. It is happening now with respect to many of the banks. Name the bank, whether it is a public sector or the private sector. You have aggressive marketing in the Indian scenario also. You get so many calls to your mobile phone almost on a daily basis asking you whether you require a home loan, all those types of things. Home loan within 5 minutes, home loan within 5 hours, but by the time it comes it will be so many months or so many. So, you are asked to produce document after document before the loan gets sanctioned. So, distinction between developed and developing nations will begin to fade as the developing nations take on a greater proportion of world trade. So, this is what is happening. You are finding that a company like a country like China is dominating the world market. Never was it thought of just a few decades back. So, most of the developed countries never used to touch China. Now, China opened its doors for other western companies also. The result is on a reciprocal basis, that is Chinese companies will also operate from the western countries and these things can also operate from China. Now, what is happening in this COVID and all, the western companies trust in China has come down. Okay. This is one of the things, this is another environmental uncertainty. So, these western companies are not willing to trust China. In the first place you may just wonder why did they come to China. They came to China for reaping cost advantage. Now they think that it is not just cost advantage, their product advantage is also getting snatched by China. Okay. So, so many spyings which are being done in the name of trying to get information, all those types of things. So, even a company like Huawei or whatever it is under the radar in the Indian context as well, because it was trying to steal the customer information, okay, or trying to pass on this customer information to China, all those types of things which were reported in the press. Okay. Then as more industries become hyper competitive, strategy will become increasingly short term in orientation, thus creating a paradox. So, that is what I was trying to say. Earlier we were looking at the corporate planning horizon 5 to 10 years. 10 years got struck off. They started looking at 5 years. Even the 5-year period got struck off. They started looking at 3 years. Corporate planning got rechristened at strategic planning. This IT revolution in the country, it shortened this period further. You started looking at strategic planning for the next year, and you started looking at guidance value for the next quarter, all those types of things, guidance. So, this is what is happening. So, this is also raising one question: can strategic management exist with only a short time horizon? This type of short time horizon, is it possible to? So, this is what experts are really looking at in the present day context. Now, having looked at this EFAS, we will look at the IFAS, the internal factors. So, this is what is called internal corporate analysis for a company. What is this internal corporate analysis? So, you are looking at basically the company's internal strengths and weaknesses. So, in other words, you are looking at a corporate audit. It is also called organizational audit. So, this type of audit, what does it characterize? It characterizes competitive and other distinct competencies in marketplace. Suppose you are an electronic product manufacturer. So, there will be so many electronic product manufacturers like you, then why should a consumer prefer your company's product? Some of your relatives might prefer your company's product because they are related to you, but that does not apply to all the consumers per se. So, your product should give them some specific competitive advantage over the competitors' products, that is, they should get some advantage by using your product, whether it is a price advantage, whether it is the quality advantage, or whether it is the attribute advantage, all those types of things we will discuss when we go along. So, competitive and other distinct competencies in the marketplace. So, you should be able to, so there is a, what do you call, a eatable item. So, many of you might have heard of this term called, especially from Tamil Nadu, it is called kaimurk. Kaimurk is a sort of a rice preparation, okay, rice flour preparation done very well, very tasty by most of the. So, it is done on a household basis in Tamil Nadu, but less in Karnataka, but there are many companies selling this actually in Bangalore, not to mention of the large number of companies selling in Chennai. So, you have the grand stores in Chennai, Adiyar, then you have the Adiyar Anand Bhavan selling these types of things in Bangalore. So, this is what is this actually? Making this type of dish is not that easy, cannot be manufactured, cannot be done by each and everyone. It is a distinct competence shown by these players in the marketplace. Added to that, the taste which they give, that is the proper ratios of ingredients which make this product very tasty. The result is many of these players enjoy this competitive and distinct competence in the marketplace with respect to this simple with respect to this eatable item, okay, like this kaimurk in the marketplace. Similarly, if you really look at some of these eatable stores, there are many of them in almost well known cities, small but made a great mark. Okay. So, you have some of them in Bangalore, some of their items are going to United States also. So, because though whenever the families are visiting their children in US, they take these items from a very small store in Gandhi Bazaar in Bangalore. So, that small store in Gandhi Bazaar in Bangalore, it caters to the US market as well. So, many times you may wonder, is it really happening? Yes, it is happening. Okay. Then the constraints or obstacles which check movement in desired directions and may also inhibit organization in gaining a distinctive competitive advantage. We looked at these small eatables items, but when you look at a large organization, so you have to think on a different scale and a different level. So, you should have the distinct competencies, but there may also be constraints or obstacles which check movement in desired directions and may also inhibit organization in gaining a distinctive competitive advantage. So, this is what I gave you the example of Gillette Mash 3 in the earlier classes, in the earlier sessions. So, where this company Gillette is enjoying this distinctive competitive advantage due to this product even to this day. So, it is a triple blade technology used, that is a Mash 3. So, some companies came up with 5 blade technology, some of them, one of them I remember came up with a 7 blade technology, but could not hold on against this millet Mash 3. People gave it a try, so many of them this 5 blade. I do not know how many gave a try for this 7 blade, but they came back to this 3 blade technology only and said this is the best product. Okay. So, the result is Mash 3 holds on to its market share. So, in order to do a internal corporate analysis, what should be the criteria? What is the criteria that one should adopt for these types of analysis? So, we looked at EFAS. The reason for giving all these criteria is to come up with an IFAS matrix, that is internal factors analysis matrix. So, this will be given as an IFAS, means internal factors analysis summary. So, if you looked at the what are the criteria? The first criteria is historic. So, you look at the past performance of organizations. sales, profit after tax, then capacity utilization. Before coming to conclusions, should check replicability of past in future. This is a very big question mark. Why this is a very big question mark? Because the future is not certain in the present day context due to this hyper competition. But anyhow, it could be a good yardstick to start with. So, start your this thing criteria with from the historic this thing, take the past performance, use these factors. Then second one is second criteria is what is called normative. What is this normative? It is judgment. What ought to be on level of performance, that is expert opinion. Consult the experts, bring in the experts. This is also sometimes referred to as Delphi method. Okay. So, where you use these people to give you the what do you call, what is like, suppose let us take for example earlier the welding before now you have fine welding. Earlier the weldings used to be thick, it used to give it used to be ugly in fact. Okay. So, suppose a product was welded, especially these grills and all that, they used to present themselves in a bad shape. Now, you look at the same grills. Now, what is the type of change that you are seeing with respect to welding? Earlier your welding machines were very big, it had to be brought by an auto or a tempo, all those types of things. So, if you gave and you had to have a different power connection right from the electricity board. What is the present day thing? He brings in the welding machine on his two-wheeler and your house electric connection is good enough to see that this welding machine operates without tripping. Okay. This is the type of scenario changes which have come in. So, when it was asked to some of the experts what is the shape of welding changes likely to come about, they said this type of what do you call this big mass type of welding is likely to undergo change. You may have spot welding, you may have so many these things. Now, you look at the type of what do you call the circuit boards, the type of solderings which are being done, it is so fine, and when it is so fine you may not be even able to know that it has been soldered. So, this is the type of changes which have come about, which the experts predicted might happen. Okay. So, the second this you look at cots in the present day, that is a furniture item. So many screws are used in the cot, but these screws when it is used, they cover it with a plastic cap. You will not even know that there is a screw. Suppose your cot is giving way somewhere, let us say some portion of the cot. So, you will be many times you will not be knowing where is the screw, which screw has to be tightened, what is happening here. So, you have to bring in a what do you call this type of furniture specialist only to handle this scenario. Okay. So, this is what is happening in the present day context, even with these furniture items or building items, so many new things have come up. Now, the third criterion is what is called competitive parity, that is firm must at minimum, must is underlined there, meet the actions of competitors, should identify dimensions of uniqueness. Okay. Suppose you go to one furniture manufacturer, so many furniture manufacturers are there. So, you go to some person, you ask him, how is your furniture different from that furniture, that your cot different from that person's cot. He may give you so many attributes for his product. Similarly, with respect to your what do you call the pillows, then the different types of beddings which are coming there. Many of them claim that it will never give you a neck pain. So, some things which were unheard of. Okay. They say if you use this pillow, this bed, you will never get this neck pain. So, so many manufacturers claiming this uniqueness with reference to the product. So, not to mention of this cot and the bed and all those types of, there are now if you look at electronic items, each electronic item manufacturer says this product is unique with respect to these things. Okay. Now, all this gives you the next criteria, that is the critical factor for success. It is also called the key factors for success in a marketplace. So, it is CFS or KFS. TV manufacturer, let us say, so many TV manufacturers are there in the market. Now, each manufacturer of TV is advertising his product. So, whether it is the well known manufacturers like Sony or the LG, they are all advertising their product, kindly note that. So, advertising is a must. Suppose a new entrant comes in, he cannot afford to advertise on these lines, let us say, then it will be considered as a weakness in the marketplace. Okay. You must be able to give competition in advertising to the existing products. Okay. So, this is what marketing people always tell. So, there is these are 4 criteria for determination of internal factors. One is historic, second is normative, third is competitive parity, fourth is critical factors for success. Kindly note that you may not be able to use only one criteria always, you may have to use these criteria in combinations. So, one criterion seldom sufficient to evaluate a firm. That brings you to measures of evaluation. So, the measurements. So, one of the measures that you can think of is the attribute measure. So, what could be an example for an attribute measure? So, in the present day automotive field, you are having multiple point fuel injection MPFI. What is the advantage of this attribute with respect to the product? The fuel supplied to the engine is going to come undisturbed. Suppose you had only single point. Suppose that point got choked, the fuel supply would be affected to the engine, and in the layman's language your vehicle will stop. So, if it was a if it is a four wheeler that and if you had engaged a driver through a taxi, he would say earlier, sir, the engine has ceased, engine seizure has taken place. What is this engine seizure? That is, fuel supply to the engine has got cut off. Okay. So, this is now very unlikely with the new type of automotives. So, most of them are coming with these MPFIs, even your two wheelers are coming with this more than 1 point fuel injections. So, take the TVS scooter itself. So, coming with more than 1 point fuel injection. So, this is a type of scenario. The third one, the next one is effectiveness measures. So, effectiveness measure is so many times you say, was the training program effective? So, you sent a person to a training program, a behavioral training program. When he comes back, you are likely to ponder over whether that program was effective or not effective. What do you mean by that? So, let us say this person in the production shop was keeping on shouting on his at his subordinates and at a very possible occasion. So, effectiveness measure for the manager would be for this supervisor, let us say this after he has attended the training program, if he is able to change his behavior in such a manner that he is able to call his worker and tell him, look, why do not you produce the product in this manner. So, he never used to. So, this used to happen in most of the factories, may be happening even to this day, that the supervisor shouts at the workers. So, this is happening on a very continual basis in the real estate industry, because many times you find the supervisors scolding the workers that they are not following anything or doing anything properly. Then what is this efficiency measures? It looked at this effectiveness. The efficiency is where you look at the input to output, okay, the output to input. So, what is the type of output you are getting for the different inputs of the program. All this leads you to construct what we call in the present terminology an impact matrix. This impact matrix tells you with respect to an organization the type of trends that you can expect. That is, you are looking at a trend analysis. Why are you looking at the trend analysis? The trend analysis you are looking at to find out what will be the impact on strategies. So, the impact matrix looks something like the one which I have presented here. I have given 4 trends. The probability of the occurrences of these trends you have to give. So, what is the probability? 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, whatever. Then what is the type of impact it is likely to have on strategies? Suppose strategy 1, how will it impact? Strategy 2, how will it impact, like that. So, this scale is given from 0 to -2 to +2. Suppose you are looking at +2, it is an extremely favorable trend. Suppose you are looking at -2, it is an extremely unfavorable trend for you. So, this is the type of scenario which you normally do with respect to internal factor analysis, come out with the internal this impact matrix. So, some of these things are given in more detail in this internal corporate analysis chapter in my book, that is chapter number 7. So, at the cost of repetition, I am suggesting to you kindly purchase these 2 books. one book on strategic management, that is the 6th edition of this book, okay, published by Prentice Hall. The other one on the case studies in marketing, that is the 7th edition, again published by Prentice Hall. So, we will come to those cases very shortly after this internal corporate analysis. Okay. So, this is this chapter 7 gives you so many things. Now, it gives you measuring attributes, attribute measures, effectiveness measures, efficiency measures, and on page number 97 of this book, it gives you the formats to analyze strengths and weaknesses with respect to each of the functional areas, whether it is marketing, finance, production, or personnel or organization. It also gives you the different types of approaches that can be adopted. Some of these things we will consider in the next session. Okay. We will stop here and continue in the next class. Thank you.